Hello and welcome back to my channel. How are you all doing? Hope you're well. So in today's video, I'll be showing you how to preserve ginger in two ways. The first one would be fermented ginger in brine, which is salt, and the other would be pickled ginger. Pickled ginger originates from Japan. It's a traditional Japanese food called gari, that's G-A-R-I. It is typically served with sushi and is meant to act as a palate cleanser between bites. If you want to learn about two easy ways of preserving ginger, please keep watching. First, I'm going to start with the fermented ginger. So for the ingredients, I'll be using fresh ginger. Try as much as you can to get freshly harvested ginger. That way, they're soft and tender, easy to grate, and have less fiber. A tablespoon of coarse sea salt. If you've got fine sea salt, that's also okay. But please be sure your salt doesn't contain anti-caking agent or any other ingredient, as this could affect the outcome of your fermented ginger. I've also got a glass jar and a fermentation weight to keep the ginger submerged in brine so they do not float to the top during fermentation. And here is an overview of everything I'll be using for my fermented ginger recipe. Now I'm going to start preparing the ginger. I'll do this by scraping off the skin with a spoon instead of using a knife to peel the skin. I find that using a spoon instead of a knife is more efficient, as a spoon can easily reach the corners where a knife cannot reach. Also, using a spoon is less wasteful, but I'm still going to use a knife to cut off the tips and the bottoms of the ginger. While scraping the ginger, one of my favorite quotes came to my mind, which is, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." This essentially means that no matter how big your goal is, you can achieve it if you take the first step. When I started scraping the skin off the ginger, it felt like it was going to take forever, but eventually I got there, and it was a great time to reflect as well. While taking the skin off the ginger, I could tell they were freshly harvested, as I could tell from the smell, texture, and how much liquid there was in the ginger. Now that I'm done scraping the skin off the ginger, this is what they look like. I'm just going to do a quick demo of how much liquid these ginger roots contain. Just a squeeze and look how much liquid it has released. In case you're watching and have an idea on what to do with the liquid from the ginger peel, please leave a comment in the comment section. Now I've rinsed the ginger and this is what they look like. Super clean. So I'm just going to separate the ginger into two, half for my fermented ginger and the other half for the pickled ginger. This was me checking to see if the gingers have been split equally. To prepare the ginger, I'll be using a box grater. I'm gonna be using the coarse side of the grater, not the fine grating side, and not the cheese planer side, nor the zester side. Using the coarse grating side, I'll begin grating the ginger. I'll grate the ginger vertically and not horizontally so as to minimize having lots of ginger fiber in my fermentation. As the ginger got smaller, I attached the ginger to a fork for ease of grating, but that didn't work for too long. I went back to using my fingers, but being extra careful not to grate my fingers. Now that I'm done grating the ginger, this is what they look like. Next, I'll go ahead to add the sea salt. Just sea salt, no water. The goal here is to let the ginger produce enough brine which will be used for the fermentation. Can you guess how the ginger will produce the brine? Yes, you've guessed right. I'll be massaging the ginger with my hands. As always, please make sure your hands and utensils are clean when making fermented or pickled vegetables. For the massaging process, you could wear a glove if you feel the need to, but personally, I prefer to use my bare hands. I'll massage the salt into the ginger until the ginger produces enough brine, also known as fermentation solution. As you can see, the ginger is beginning to produce liquid. I'll keep massaging the ginger until I'm satisfied with the amount of liquid produced. Now look at that amount of brine. I think we're getting there. I'll keep massaging the ginger until I have enough brine. Now that I have enough brine, it's time to transfer the ginger into the jar. I'll place a funnel at the mouth of the jar and transfer the grated ginger into the jar using a tongue. By the way, I've got a video on fermented ginger and carrots which I'm going to link above this video. Please feel free to check it out. Next, I'll use a tamper to push down the ginger so the brine is separated from the ginger, and also to keep the ginger compact and release any air bubbles. Then I'll place in the glass weight and seal the jar. I'll place this jar of ginger on a tray and leave it for 2 weeks to ferment. Remember, if you live in a warm climate, your fermented ginger could be ready sooner than 2 weeks. Now look at that, I can't wait for it to be ready. Now let's move on to the next part of this video, which is our pickled ginger. For my pickled ginger, I'll be using mature fresh ginger. This recipe originally originates from Japan, and the Japanese typically would use new fresh ginger with really soft skin with light pink pigmentation at the ends, sometimes with the stem still attached. Back to my list of ingredients, I'll be using a cup of vinegar. I'm using regular white vinegar, 2 tablespoons of sugar, a teaspoon of sea salt. I'll be using coarse sea salt, and of course a glass jar. Here's an overview of everything I'll be using in this video. I've got my peeled ginger, which was done at the beginning of this video. Now I'm gonna prepare to slice them. This was a tough and tricky one. I began by using a potato peeler as I wanted the ginger slices to be as thin as possible, but that was a fail. I tried using a knife off camera. That was also an epic fail. Then I went back to the potato peeler. I ended up using my box grater, using the cheese planer side, which eventually worked. I had to be on my feet for the grating as my chair was really low and this task needed some muscles. While grating the ginger, I did my best to grate them vertically and not horizontally so as to avoid having lots of stringy ginger fiber in my pickle. At some point, when the ginger got really small, I tried again using a fork to see if it would help, but it didn't, so I went back to using my fingers. And guess what? I didn't grate my finger throughout the whole process. So I've got some leftover gingers which were too small to be grated as I didn't want to grate my fingers. In case you're wondering what I did with them, well, I simply chopped them into smaller bits and stored them in my freezer for cooking as well as smoothies. Now that I'm done grating the ginger, this is what they look like. I would say the grater did a pretty decent job because this is just the size I was going for. Next, I'll add half a teaspoon of sea salt to the ginger as well as hot boiling water and make sure that the ginger is submerged in the hot water. I'll leave it to blanch for a minute. The purpose of this is to slightly soften the ginger and reduce its spiciness. I'll give it a stir, then go to the kitchen and strain the water and leave the ginger to naturally cool down. Next, I'll make the pickling solution by adding vinegar, sugar, and half a teaspoon of sea salt to a pan. I'll leave it to cook on low heat. The goal here is to let the sugar and salt dissolve. I'll give the pickling solution a stir, then turn off the cooker as the sugar and salt has fully dissolved. As the ginger has completely cooled down, I will now proceed to scoop some of the grated ginger, gently squeeze out the excess liquid by simply placing them between my palms. In case you're wondering what's going to happen to the excess liquid from the ginger, I'll be adding that to my cooking such as oatmeal, porridge, soups and stews. Trust me, nothing goes to waste in my kitchen. Now that I'm done squeezing the ginger, this is what they look like. Next, I'll transfer the squeezed grated ginger into the jar using a tongue. Then I'm going to add the pickling solution. Next, I'm going to use a knife to release the air bubbles so as to ensure that the squeezed ginger soaks up the pickling solution. I'll go ahead to top up the jar with more pickling solution, then put the lid on. I'll leave it on the kitchen counter to cool down. As always, your pickled ginger can be consumed immediately, but personally, I prefer to let my pickled ginger sit for at least 48 hours so that the pickling solution is well infused into the ginger. Now it's 2 weeks later. As you know, the pickled ginger was ready right after filming, but I had to wait for the fermented ginger to be ready so I could film the two together. I'm gonna scoop out some of the pickled ginger to show you. Here's a closer look. Next, I'll open up the fermented ginger and take out the glass weight. I'll scoop out some of the fermented ginger. Here's a closer look. So side by side, these are my favorite ways to preserve ginger. Pickled ginger on my left and fermented ginger on my right. Pickled ginger is very versatile and goes with a lot of meal. In this picture, I have added it to a nice bowl of noodles with vegetables, smoked tofu and shiitake. The slightly sweet and sour flavor from the ginger blended really well with the hot and spicy flavors from the noodles. In the second clip, I made millet porridge, or what is popularly known as pap, and simply topped it with persimmon, hemp seeds and pickled ginger for that extra kick, and I really enjoyed it. In this third clip, I paired sauteed spinach with shiitake mushrooms and peppers with rice and topped it with some fermented ginger. It was absolutely delicious, and I could tell that my digestive system really loved it. Whether you're looking to ferment your ginger or pickle them, it's a good addition to one's diet, as ginger is widely known to be good for digestion, helps with bloating, promotes good bowel movement and helps with cold. So I guess we've come to the end of this video on 2 easy ways to preserve ginger. If you've enjoyed watching and found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to my channel, and please don't forget to click the notification bell icon so that you can get notified whenever I upload a new video. If you've got any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye.